Welcome back to Newsstand. I can't get down from here. It's scary. The winter weather in New York City has been bad, but not as bad as forcing myself to read some Dumbo article on ForksNews.com. I'm trying to do that thing where I read something I normally wouldn't in order to empathize and open my mind up to new perspectives, and then ultimately not changing my mind anyway. But I had to turn off the ad block on my browser so I could read this. Criminal. The real title of this article is Mamdani's Jim Crow 2.0 Snow Removal Operation Requires ID, written by some right-wing loser you've never heard of. Alright, I'm gonna use a funny voice, when I'm not me, but I'm the guy that wrote it. I'm gonna make a funny voice. And then when I'm me giving feedback, I'll ideally sound like me. And I use a lot of voices, so this might get confusing. With a blizzard bearing down on New York City, socialist mayor Zoran Mamdani has offered citizens a chance to make a few extra bucks removing snow. But there is a catch, and it's a doozy. As racist as the left tells us this is, workers must bring valid ID. So, Zoran is the racist one. Now that he's made this claim, the writer of this piece gets to be racist. Those are just the rules. He's got to follow them. His hands are tied. Say it ain't so, Zo. We know from the voter ID debate that marginalized brown and black people just can't figure out how to get driver's licenses. According to Kamala Harris, it has something to do with not having a Kinko's. Oh my God. How am I supposed to read this? So why is His Honor pushing Jim Crow 2.0 here? Jim Crow 2.0 is crazy, and you'll see why. I mean, obviously, but Jesus, okay. Oh, and the ID required includes a social security card, so in addition to excluding minorities, Mamdani is barring illegal immigrants. Ooh, ooh. Can we put a lightning sound in post? Great, thanks. Now, undocumented immigrants do live and work in the U.S. However, it is illegal to hire someone who is not authorized to work in the U.S. So this guy's saying facetiously that Mayor Mamdani is racist against undocumented immigrants because he isn't openly breaking the law to hire undocumented laborers to work for the city. Real smart stuff here. He continues. Is the mayor worried that people may not be honest about who they actually are? That seems like a strange thing to worry about in hiring someone for day work when there's no issue at all in voting for our political leaders. So we're back to the voter ID thing. Okay, so this guy's implying Zoran, or Democrats in general, are for non-citizens voting illegally, which he isn't, and they aren't. He's saying Zoran, who, remember, is the mayor, not hiring people he legally cannot hire is evidence of his own racist hypocrisy. Why am I doing this to myself? Like, reading this. Why am I doing this? The hoops we're jumping through are tinier than a frog's balls, And why won't the miserly Mamdani allow the undocumented to work? Undocumented is in quotes here, making fun of how liberals are always making up new terms to describe someone's situation accurately. These are people who have to feed their families, and zany Zoran insists they shouldn't be deported, so what are they supposed to do? Zany Zoran, I like the alliteration. We're getting some element of style in there. Sure, Mamdani claims that nobody is illegal on stolen land, but when push comes to shovel, he's just another racist xenophobe demanding people of color show their papers. Push comes to shovel is so fucking funny, dude. You should be really proud of that one. Also, the emergency shoveler program, I think, is open to everyone. I don't think he's appealing just to people of color. And so anyone who applies for a job is gonna have to show their documents to prove they're allowed to work for the government, right? Like, you've applied for a job, right? Don't you have to do that? I can hear the defenders of Zoran saying, it's the law, which is absolutely amazing, given that Mamdani has never seen a federal immigration law he found worth enforcing. By the way, I hope this voice isn't annoying, but I just really don't want you to think it's me saying this. Anyway, I love this part because, one, you're right. It is the law. Like you said, I can hear the defenders of Zoran saying it's the law. You're right. It is the law. So you admit you're making up this problem. And two, this guy didn't cite any examples of these federal immigration laws Zoran's not enforcing. Like, I clicked around on the hyperlinks and they just went to immigration in general. So he's not giving any examples of Zoran not enforcing the law. And maybe Zoran's not enforcing it. I don't know. But if your problem is the mayor not following the law, then you should love that he's following the law to hire people to work for the city. It's the problem. Zany Zoran would happily encourage you or I to hire an illegal worker and face the potential federal penalties for doing so. You already called him Zany Zoran, and it's not catching on. Now I'm just getting mad. I don't even have anything funny to say. Not that any of this has been funny. If you're still here, thanks. Hi, how's it going? We both have something wrong with us for still being here. He would celebrate it, in fact. So why can't he buck the very system he now controls to give them a shot at snow removal gigs? The difference, of course, is that if the mayor or his administration breaks the law, they would be the ones facing criminal penalties, and obviously we can't have that. Right! Right! Breaking the law as the mayor was Eric Adams' job. He was the corrupt one until he cozied up to your president. The president. It's just crazy that he's so mad the mayor is following the law. But I'm trying to empathize. His view is that he's not following every law, but he didn't cite any example of him doing so. So I could be wrong. That's true. It's true that I could be wrong. Crazy thing to admit. But I didn't see, I don't know what he's talking about. He's just saying he's not enforcing immigration laws. But if the immigration law he's not enforcing is just that sometimes undocumented people get hired, that's not Zoran's, he's not the one hiring, literally he's not the one hiring undocumented people. But I think there are just so many in the city of New York that he's not going to go on some ICE raid as the federal government would to attack them. That's just not what, I don't think, that's not what the mayor is for or should do. I'm getting off track of this really awesome writing. The reason that somewhere around 85% of Americans support voter ID is that it's just a no-brainer. Showing ID is a basic part of our everyday lives, even if Democrats condescendingly suggest that people with certain skin tones struggle with it. It is wild that around 80% of Americans do favor voter ID. Like that's kind of a somewhat accurate statistic. It's really upsetting to me, but it's not condescending to suggest people can struggle to have access to an ID when, for example, in Alabama, a year after their voter ID laws went into effect, state officials tried to shut down 31 driver's license offices in majority black counties, which would have forced rural and minority voters to travel further to access licenses. It's not condescending to state that sometimes it's hard to get stuff. Because also, keep in mind, travel costs money. Getting an ID costs money. Getting the documents to get an ID can also cost money. And some people have to pay for their food or their medicine because we don't pay for those things here. So, yeah, you might think like, oh, it's only like $50 or $75 or $175. Adding in the travel fees, regardless of the means, just to get your documents, not everybody has an extra fucking $100. The ludicrous nature of this argument is completely exposed when Zoran gets up at a podium and tells people not to forget their ID if they want to shovel snow, without batting an eye, as if he was eating rice with his hands or calling someone racist. I don't even know what to say. Not to sound like a Republican, but I really hope the writer here doesn't just start calling anything and everything racist, like inanimate objects. But today, the racist shoe is on the other foot. Motherfucker, okay. And Mamdani should be ashamed of himself. How many families of the undocumented or the Americans who somehow can't get ID, somehow is a crazy word there, will go hungry because of this monster? Grow a spine, Zoran. You talk the talk on illegal immigrants working in New York. It's about time you walked the walk. So to conclude, and again, thanks for sticking around this long if you're still here. He's begging the mayor to illegally hire undocumented people to work for the city. To be clear, I personally don't care if you're undocumented. You're a person. Go do your thing. Also, immigrants, just in general, including undocumented immigrants commit less crime. And also, the crime rate among immigrants has only gone down over the decades. But anyway, I don't think it's a hard concept to grasp that the city government can't hire people, immigrants or not, without having them bring in their identification like you would do for any other fucking job you're applying for. I'm starting to think this guy wrote this article in bad faith and that it might not even be worth all this trouble. Oh. Oh no. Was this all a huge waste of time? Thanks for joining me on whatever this was. A little experiment. This has been Wrong Story Short. Let me know if you like this format. Wrong Story Short. I think the premise is that I read stuff from right-wing outlets and just want to die. So if that's something you're interested in so that you don't have to read it, let me know. It's probably not going to be as punchy of a show as our main show, Newsstand, because I'm not having the writers do this. I'm just kind of reacting to it. This was Wrong Story Short. So let me know in the comments if you're into it. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe and whatnot.